Kamala Harris was midway through what should have been a routine CNN interview when Anderson Cooper asked the question that changed everything. She'd been calm, professional, giving measured responses about policy. Then Cooper mentioned Trump's latest military parade proposal, and something in her expression shifted. Not anger exactly, more like disbelief mixed with determination. Anderson Cooper said, "The former president is proposing another military parade, this time with even more." That's when Kamala Harris leaned forward, her voice cutting through his. She said, "Kings." Just 2 words. But the way she said them made Anderson Cooper actually flinch. The studio went dead silent. Even the camera operators seemed to hold their breath. Kamala continued, her voice rising. "We don't do military parades to stroke one man's ego in America. We don't march tanks down Pennsylvania Avenue so someone can play dictator. No kings." Anderson tried to interject. He said, "Vice President Harris, surely you can see." "What I see," Kamala interrupted, "is someone who fundamentally doesn't understand America. We fought a revolution to get rid of kings. We wrote a constitution to prevent kings. And now he wants tanks rolling past the White House like this is North Korea?" Her hands were gesturing emphatically now. This wasn't the careful, scripted Kamala Harris people were used to seeing. She said, "You know what military parades are for? They're for countries where the leader needs to remind people who has the guns. Is that what we are now? Is that what we've become?" Anderson Cooper tried to regain control of the interview. He said, "The former president says it's about showing military strength." Kamala actually laughed. Not a political laugh. A bitter, incredulous laugh. She said, "Strength? You want to know what strength looks like? Strength is using our military to defend democracy, not to put on a show. Strength is respecting our service members, not using them as props." She turned to look directly at the camera, no longer even acknowledging Anderson. "To every veteran watching this, every active service member, you deserve better than being parade decorations for someone's fantasy. You signed up to defend the Constitution, not to march past a reviewing stand so one man can pretend he's a king." Anderson tried once more. He said, "But previous presidents have considered military parades. No kings." Kamala shouted, actually shouted on live television. "I don't care who considered what. We are not a monarchy. We are not an authoritarian state. We are the United States of America, and we don't do strongman theater." The passion in her voice was unlike anything viewers had seen from her before. She continued, "You know where they love military parades? Russia, China, North Korea. You know why? Because when you can't earn respect, you demand it at gunpoint. When you can't lead, you intimidate. When you have no ideas, you have parades." Anderson Cooper sat back, clearly realizing this interview had taken an unexpected turn. Kamala wasn't done. She said, "Every dollar spent on this narcissistic fantasy is a dollar not spent on veteran health care. Every hour our service members spend practicing to march in formation is an hour not spent on actual defense. Every tank rolling down our streets is a reminder that someone thinks America needs to be ruled, not led." She paused, catching her breath, then delivered the line that would echo for weeks. "We settled this in 1776. No kings. Not then. Not now. Not ever. And if you need a military parade to feel powerful, then you're exactly the kind of person the founders warned us about." Anderson tried to move to commercial. He said, "We need to take a quick." "No," Kamala said firmly. "We're not done. America needs to hear this." And this is where something remarkable happened. CNN actually didn't cut to commercial. They let her continue. She said, "I've been to real military parades. You know where? At bases where families welcome home their loved ones. In small towns where communities honor their fallen. Those parades mean something. Those parades honor service and sacrifice." Her voice grew stronger with each word. "But a parade so one man can stand on a balcony and watch tanks roll by? That's not American. That's what happens in countries where the leader's picture has to be in every building. Where children have to sing songs about the dear leader. Where disagreement means disappearance." She looked at Anderson Cooper. She said, "You asked about the parade. Here's my answer. Over my dead body. As long as I have breath in my lungs and a voice to speak, I will stand against anyone who thinks America needs a king. Anderson finally spoke. He said, "That's quite a strong response." Kamala's eyes flashed. She said, "You know what? It's not strong enough. Because apparently, we need to keep saying it. No kings. No emperors. No supreme leaders. No dear leaders. No strongmen. Just citizens. Equal citizens. That's America." She straightened her jacket, composed herself slightly, but the fire was still there. And to anyone who thinks a military parade makes you strong, let me tell you what real strength is. Real strength is a peaceful transfer of power. Real strength is accepting election results. Real strength is serving the people, not expecting them to serve you. The interview had completely derailed from its planned topics, but nobody cared. This was riveting television. Kamala continued, "You want to honor the military? Fund the VA properly. Take care of military families. Don't send troops into harm's way for your ego. Don't make them march so you can pretend you're reviewing the troops like some tin pot dictator." Anderson Cooper made one last attempt to steer things back. He said, "Moving on to healthcare." "We're not moving on," Kamala said, "because this is about healthcare. It's about education. It's about everything. Every dollar wasted on authoritarian cosplay is a dollar stolen from the American people." She was standing now, though the cameras hadn't shown when she'd gotten up. "I've stayed quiet too long. We've all stayed quiet too long. Being polite while democracy gets chipped away. Being civil while someone plans parades instead of policy. Well, I'm done being quiet. No kings." The studio crew was visibly affected. One camera operator was nodding along. A producer in the corner was wiping her eyes. Kamala looked around the studio, then back at the camera. She said, "You know why this makes me so angry? Because I've met the young people who join our military. They join to serve something bigger than themselves. They join to protect freedom. They don't join to be parade props for someone's power fantasy." Her voice cracked with emotion. "My mother came to this country because it was a democracy. She came here because there were no kings. And I'll be damned if I sit quietly while someone tries to change that." Anderson Cooper had given up trying to control the interview. He just asked, "What would you say to supporters of the parade?" Kamala's response was immediate. She said, "I'd say read a history book. Every democracy that fell into authoritarianism started with parades, started with shows of force, started with leaders who needed to be worshipped instead of respected." She sat back down, but her intensity didn't diminish. "You know what our military parades should be? 4th of July celebrations where veterans march with their communities. Memorial Day remembrances where we honor the fallen. Veterans Day gatherings where we thank those who served. Community parades. Not government parades. Not king parades." She paused, then added, "And if you need me to explain the difference, then you're part of the problem." The interview had been scheduled for 30 minutes. They were now at 45, and CNN wasn't cutting away. Kamala said, "I want to speak directly to any member of the military who's been told they might have to march in this parade. You swore an oath to the Constitution, not to any individual. Your duty is to defend democracy, not to decorate someone's fantasy." Anderson finally found his voice. He said, "Are you concerned about the political ramifications of speaking so strongly?" Kamala laughed again, but this time with genuine mirth. She said, "Political ramifications? Anderson, if speaking against authoritarianism has political ramifications, then our democracy is in worse shape than I thought. If saying no kings is controversial, then we've already lost our way." She leaned forward one more time. "So let me be crystal clear for anyone who didn't understand. I will oppose this parade with every fiber of my being. I will stand in front of those tanks if I have to. I will remind everyone who listens that America was founded on the principle that we bow to no one." Her final words rang out clear and strong. No kings. Not in 1776. Not in 2024. Not ever. And if you want a parade, throw one for teachers. For nurses. For firefighters. For everyone who serves America without needing their ego stroked. But military parades for one man's glory? Not in my America. Not now. Not ever. No kings. The interview ended there. Anderson Cooper looked shell-shocked. The studio was silent except for the sound of cameras pulling back. Within minutes, #NoKings was trending worldwide. The clip spread faster than anything CNN had aired in years. But here's the thing. Major networks only showed edited versions. They cut out the parts where Kamala got really fired up. They softened it. They sanitized it. Why? Because raw truth makes people uncomfortable. Because passion from politicians scares the establishment. Because someone actually saying what millions were thinking was too powerful for prime time. But the full clip lived online. Shared in group chats. Posted on social media. Texted between friends who said, "Did you see this?" Veterans groups released statements. Some supporting, some opposing, but all acknowledging that she'd touched on something deep. The idea that military service shouldn't be theater. That parades should honor service, not power. Political commentators tried to analyze it. They used words like unprecedented and unscripted and controversial. But regular people used different words. They said finally and truth and about time. Kamala herself didn't walk it back. At her next appearance, someone asked if she regretted her strong words. She said simply, "I regret not saying them sooner. No kings." And that became her signature. At every event, someone would shout, "No kings," and she'd respond with the same. The proposed military parade quietly disappeared from discussion. Officials claimed it was for logistical reasons, but everyone knew the truth. The Vice President of the United States had drawn a line in the sand, and she'd done it on live television. Months later, Anderson Cooper was asked about that interview. He said, "In 20 years of journalism, I've never seen anything like it." She wasn't playing politics. She was defending democracy, and she didn't care who was comfortable with it. The clip became required viewing in political science classes. Professors used it to discuss the difference between democratic leadership and authoritarian tendencies. Students wrote papers about the power of unscripted truth. But perhaps the most telling response came from a retired general who posted a simple message: served 30 years. Multiple deployments. Never marched in a parade for a politician. Because that's not what American soldiers do. The VP gets it. No kings. Some called it the moment Kamala Harris found her voice. Others said it was the moment America remembered its voice. But everyone agreed on one thing. When someone suggested turning American soldiers into parade props for one man's glory, Kamala Harris gave the only response that mattered. No kings. 2 words that said everything. 2 words that reminded a nation who we are. 2 words that echoed from 1776 to today. Because in America, we don't march for monarchs. We march for freedom. And sometimes, it takes someone shouting the obvious to remind us of that simple truth.